Hello, my name is Larry Belfield, and I'd like to thank you for joining my show. This show is about realty, but what it is first and foremost is my show, and I would like to once again thank you for joining. We've taken a turn, quite a few turns, studying the history of real estate. We've come into the foundation of our world, solving conflicts and arguments and wars, solving ancient history, solving ancient invention, ancient prophecy, ancient ideas. And what we have stumbled across multiple times is the root and the foundation of all of our religious history. And tonight, I would like to make a special show about Jesus. Usually, or most likely, I was trying to not avoid this situation, but I wasn't going to really bring it up because most people don't believe in him. But I do, and as for me and my house, we will praise the Lord. And since we've come to Jesus so many times, we're actually going to have an episode about him. Thank you for joining me. My name is Larry Belfield, and this is the Belfield Show. And tonight's topic, Jesus. Hello, my name is Larry Belfield. This is the Belfield Show. Thank you for joining me. And tonight, our subject is Jesus. In truth, I think that we're missing a great deal of what Jesus has done for us. We believe our eternal soul will be saved when we take on Jesus as our God. When in reality, Jesus has saved us from ourselves and our natural way of thinking. Jesus did not walk on the street campaigning for higher wages and less tax. No, he turned over the money collector's table. When he died, he was placed next to a thief and a beggar. How do you get capital punishment from begging and stealing? See, I believe the true message of Jesus is that we were way too comfortable with the death penalty. And we're way too comfortable with letting bad men run our society. You see where I'm getting at? Everything wrong with us has changed. Having the number one crusader of the poor and needy get crucified next to a thief and a beggar. See, it's a frightening failure of society, however commonplace it may be. In the time of Moses, boy babies were killed at birth. You see, this was true in the time of Jesus as well. And I always wondered if Jesus himself was against the law. I always had a suspicion. Was it more illegal for him to be alive than it was to crucify him? I also wondered about the law on that. Now, what changed is clear. Everything wrong then, up to now, and all through our future. And anything that will be wrong after that will change because we are followers of Jesus Christ. See, now I've pulled this verse from the Bible, our previous verse in our previous previous lesson. This was the Lord's Prayer. Most congregations will end their service with this prayer. Where after reading my work, you probably don't need me to interpret this for you. However, I will try to simply and really quickly simplify this. Sin, temptation, trespass, forgiveness, and daily bread. See, I will show further proof of how we are wrapped in sin, and how temptation and trespassing is our favorite pastime, and how transgression is still a part of our daily life. Now take note, these aren't praiseworthy acts. Sins, transgression, trespassing. These are things that you can do wrong. However, it asks that we forgive those that do this to you. Because the Lord forgives us all the time, unconditionally. Even for his very own persecution. See, this is the love Jesus showed when he suffered under us. And Jesus spoke forgiveness, even in his crucifixion. He's not just an outstanding person for being wise and well known as he was. See, he was visiting the imprisoned, helping the poor, healing the sick. Jesus was like a real doctor of the day, using wine as an antiseptic, cleansing the spirit, the spiritual body of the people. When you live off well water, showers aren't that common. And if there aren't any schools or any books, well, education is not that common. Now, this knowledge that the Lord had, you can only get if you know a lot of people with a lot of skills. However, Jesus never spent a lot of time in fancy places. He was with beggars, the sick and afflicted. He didn't have a castle. He actually had no place to lay his head. Usually the first person he would meet in town that would want him to stay would say, "Come with me, Jesus." And Jesus would be like, "Okay." He was a down-to-earth, ordinary man. But somehow, he was no ordinary man. So I got stuck on Jesus like always. However, this time it's more important than ever, because it brings us up to a key portion in our findings. Now, I will prove that our sin raptness and transgression status in a minute. All right? But the key element, if what our report boils down to, is what our report boils down to, excuse me. How do you get to be the fastest growing city in the world? Enslave people, right, when you get there. No, it's a joke. It's a joke. It's a joke. On the real, did you know that the pyramids were built on daily bread? Now, during the time of a great famine, the story of Joseph tells the tale of a king that was informed by the Lord through Joseph to store up grain for 7 years in advance of a 7-year famine. The king followed the instruction of the Lord, and the people were sustained and saved. Now, during the time of the great famine, people could purchase grain from the city. Now, later on, historians have discovered a pay system where they were making thousands and thousands of loaves of fresh daily bread. Meaning that you could fish or catch a bird or pig for meat, but you had access to daily bread that would make your food go much further. However good this system may seem, the children of Israel ended up being taxed and burdened with a great burden, which led them to abandon Egypt. The system created to help them grow was probably the same system that led to their downfall, or the abuse of it. I wonder about the story of the fishes and the loaves, and how they were given as an offering by a child to feed a congregation. Was that to symbolize the child, the giving, or the bread? When I look back at this period of time, I see that food is scarce. People following and giving. Mainly giving. Giving is very important at this time. It seems that our ancestors had more in common than us. How these things are. How these things are in everything, I don't understand. See, these times they're suffering. Then someone comes along and saves all the people. It sounds so unrealistic. But the truth is much more unrealistic. I found this final path to the beginning of real estate. That it actually starts with grains of sand. It actually starts with bricks. The daily bread system with the children of Israel goes back further than Egypt. See, they were just giving the timing on when to start storing the grain. The grain system is not unlike the gas system. See, once installed, you don't want to upset the clock, which interprets means the flow of money into one's pocket. See, if you have a region locked up with zero grain production, then 10% of your stored grain goes out. Then 20% of your grain goes out. Then 50% of your grain goes out. Then you start to panic. You see, you start to panic. That leads to conflict once your food runs out. Now you might see what a brand new silo might mean to a region. See, it's not good when money is at the forefront of natural thinkers like you and me. You see, the great cities, the stone towers, and the fields of endless structures are built on these tiny grains. Thousands can fit into the palm of your hand. The key element of why people go there, why they do what they do, well, it's why they live like this, why they breathe like this, why they feel like this. It's the food. People live where food grows. The more easily accessible food you have, the more people you'll draw. The more money you can make. The better the region is for growth. What about schools? See, with all that daily fresh bread being made, and if you can bake thousands of loaves of bread, there must be a place to learn. So there must be good education. Now work. How about work, right? You see where I'm going? These aren't even cities yet. These are just places people have gathered. So what makes these places stand out? In our history book, it says war. However, at this time in the world, it looks as if everyone is being invited. And not just to stay, but to make this place the most sought after location in the known world. People aren't just showing up. They're showing up to be a part of something great. How do I know? Well, it's actually in the bricks, in the stones itself. Now, as you view these photographs here, what you see here is an evolution of engineering marvels. However, not only what is shown is a commonality in building techniques and artistry. Not only are they sharing styles, they're merging as they become closer. And as time passes, the most distance of places start to see the same kinds of symbols. So much that they almost become one language. In fact, there are many cases of crosses in pulpits being placed inside of mosques and cathedrals receiving domes and pillars. If you look close, you can see how all our regions have merged without really merging. You can see now that there is a big fight to keep them apart. The truth is, if we're not careful, we might overlap and lose one or more of them, or get confused in our religion. We could lose our religion by connecting them too much. That sounds reasonable, right? Yeah, it sounds reasonable. However, I wouldn't want to be the one holding the axe on that. Now, I can't believe what I'm finding. We're so connected that we've become one race of many colors, one people from many nations, one people from many worlds. If this is true, then I must find out how this all started. Many times I wanted to quit, time after time after time. Now I want to start over again. But the problem is there is so much conflict that we are almost at collapse. How do I explain the first war? Babylon. They invited all the people around them to make a place that will reach heaven. And this place got destroyed. But how did this place get destroyed? How do you explain it? In the Bible it is written, God confused their language. But now with these findings, I can see that there was probably a real language barrier there. See, this was the first multicultural project known to man, where anyone can work and get daily food. The problem might have been that too many tribes from too many areas came. And with all the new people and all the new languages, it must have been a nightmare. Getting water, getting food, getting services, getting the waste out. And if you've ever seen a documentary on Woodstock or Burning Man, having a lot of people without toilets, without water and shade is deadly fast. So where Babylon fails, Egypt wins. Where the language breaks down in Babylon, it picks up in Egypt. Now, they can handle a lot more people. But why? How? The stones. It is written into the stones. These hieroglyphs. Personally, I never thought I'd be able to read this. Okay, actually, I still can't. Okay, but what I want to show you is extraordinary. Take a look at these pictures. I'll give you a moment to view them. Now, the simple image, these simple images, a bird, an open hand, a foot, an eye, lips. See, it doesn't matter what these translated to back then. What I want you to see is that these are all things that are easily recognizable. Body parts, domesticated animals. And actually, if you take some of these parts and you take some of these images, you can kind of see the beginnings of the very alphabet we speak and read today. So now I'm finding more inclusion, more of how we came together. So now I want to start over again from the beginning to see how inclusive we are. And when I look at what brings us together, the world is full and overflowing with the tide that binds. From the beginning of our journey around the War of the 300, there was a great relations between the nations. The war was fought over something that they failed to do together. Xerxes was trying to stop a revolt in Ione, which is more like policing again, rather than warring. You see, there's far more order and correction than there is all-out fighting. See, when I look back at the achievement of man, I began to see the story of all mankind. After you have sifted through all the wars and fighting, and those that make sure we stay separate, you might ask, what was it all for? And it was to protect the road, of course. But now you see that the road is not for your foot. This is not a road for your brain. This is not a road for your body at all. This is a road for your soul. At first, we need to understand that we are born out of exploration, not war. First came the spreading of man. This is known that we have spread across the entirety of the world some 20,000 years ago. The first evidence of the world being full of people was about 10,000 years ago. This is the time we gathered into big grazing tribes. And about 5,000 years ago, we were all living in some type of forest. 2,500 years ago, this is what is known as the Stone Age. We all live in some sort of caves, trees, portable living, grazing style. Now, 2,000 years ago, Egypt was the jewel of the Nile. With a system of inclusion, they have solved the greatest problem this region has ever known: hunger. Cities stop sinking and falling and start rising higher and higher. The road, the Silk Road, is definitely here. Now in 3 steps, 1000 BC, Assyria, one of the first civilizations known by man. 1,000 years later, time resets to year zero. Empires are everywhere. And Egypt is basically its own country. In the year 1000, somehow we become powerful. We have declared an empire for the Lord, conscribed to God. What we translate as war in the Crusades now looks like places competing to be better and better than the rest. Who has the best house for the Lord? Who has the biggest city for the Lord? Who has the biggest empire for the Lord? Who has the biggest cup? Staying connected to the Lord is the only way we've made it this far. Staying connected to Him is greater than all of our creations. It is greater than all of our inventions. It is greater than anything else that we have ever discovered. Thank you for joining me. My name is Larry Belfield, and I hope that you join me in our next episode of The Grail. Hello, my name is Larry Belfield, and I'd like to thank you for joining me on The Belfield Show. Tonight's episode was something that was near and dear to my heart. And I thank you for tuning in. And I want to say that we have a great deal, of thanks to be owed. Not to ourselves, not to what we know, not to what we think our great-great-great-grandfathers have done, but to just be thankful. You don't want to believe that there's an outside influence, an outside force, a guide, someone to right the ship, to fix the wrongs, to help the needy, to fix the brokenhearted, to turn back evil men, to fix someone that's lost something, someone that's lost their home, someone that's lost their job or their car, someone that's there to talk to listen to, someone that you can trust in, someone that you can believe in. There are people like that all over the place. There are people like that everywhere. And especially at your local church. Now, we don't want to believe that, God is doing and He's in every single thing and controlling you like you're a puppet. But what I've been trying to prove here, what I've been trying to show you here, is that we really have no control over what we're doing at all anyway. And it seems that men here have ascribed to bring the Lord in, to bring God into our lives, to bring Jesus into our lives, for no other purpose than to save your life. We would be subject to fines and fees and taxes and debt. And whatever a person can think will be subject to that if we didn't have the pathway of the Lord Jesus. He shows us a better way to think and respond and to act to regular situations that we have in our daily life. So what I want to do is share Him with you. And my findings have been getting me to believe and getting me to understand that faith is a gift. It's something that someone will cherish their entire life. Once they get it, once they know it, once they have it, it will be something that can guide them, that will strengthen them, that will bolster them up and see them through the hardest and the most tumultuous time. And what I found here is that Jesus gave faith. All of these men gave hope. All of these men tried to create a pathway for the future. In the following episodes of The Grail, I will show and prove to you that giving your entire life is worth more than receiving anything that you can ever conceivably think of. Giving is worth way more. Being there, helping, being helpful is worth way more than getting anything that you could ever get. And now I see that we're in a world that likes instant gratification and likes things fast, likes things quick. It doesn't like to pay. And I'm seeing here that our world is based on people paying ahead for someone else. And we have changed a great deal. This word doesn't apply to us. These words don't mean anything to us. For my entire life, the first question someone asks when you talk about Jesus is, how do you know it's real? Or prove it to me. And that's what the entirety of the Bible is there for, to prove it to you. You shouldn't be asking another person. It's only personal, the way that you'll be able to reach him. And I want you to personally go and try, if you have the courage. In our following episodes of The Grail, you will have all the proof you need to know that this way of life and this way of thinking is basically the only way that survives. These ideas are thousands of years old, but the ideas of greed, the ideas of impatience, the ideas of idolatry, the ideas of fighting, the ideas of cursing and lying and swearing and killing and being bitter and mean to the people and individuals that are trying to help make a better world, that those ideas don't last. They are with the people that have them, and then they disappear and fade quickly. And if we just sit here and hold on to them and look at those deeds and actions, we'll never find the Lord. And I believe that's our greatest problem in the world, is that he can be hidden from you. You cannot find him. There will be a way that you can go through your entire life and never find out this information. And that's what we should be upset about. That's what we should have at the forefront of our society. That not everyone is going to have a way. Not everyone is going to be easy for them. And not everyone is going to have that offered to them. Not everyone is going to see the open door of the church as an invitation. Some might see it as a brick falling upon them. But I want to tell you today to please, please, please try the Lord. My name is Larry Belfield. I thank you for joining me on the Belfield Show. You have yourself a blessed day.